And according to the Wonderkop Land Claim Committee documents, Wonderkop, now known as Marikana, was actually bought by families who contributed £12 per family towards the purchase of the farm Wonderkop. And it was bought for £4,500, and that was paid in instalments over 5 years. A title deed was issued on the 27th of September 1927, but that land was later expropriated by the Bophuthatswana government on the 17th of April 1989, and it is currently the subject of a land claim. Now, with us this morning, David Ramohanie. He is the chairperson of the Wonderkop Land Claim Committee, and also David van Wyk, and he's the lead researcher at Benchmark Foundation. And thanks so much for staying with us. Just coming back to this land claim and what has been happening there, we've heard the background now. Firstly, can you confirm for us that in October 2013, there was land that was handed over by Lonmin to the government, and this was meant for the building of around 2,600 units, housing units that were to be built on that. Can you confirm that for us, David?
Yes, it is true. That particular land was handed over to the government of the Northwest for Lonmin to build actually houses. But now, what actually triggers is that in terms of the lease agreement that we have entered with Lonmin in 1969, it says, one of the clauses says that actually when they are done mining, they have to hand over the land back to the people that bought the land or to the owners, together with the buildings. So I'm asking myself that there is no memorandum of understanding that was entered in as far as the building of those houses is concerned, because part of the clause that I've mentioned, that when they are done with mining, when they are done with rehabilitation, when they are done with the mine closure, they're supposed to hand over everything back to the owners of the land. So now it pertains us to say, all of the sudden now, they are just now handing over our land to the government. But I'm not surprised, because there is this thing that the Minister of Land Affairs is now the trustee of our land. Hence now decisions have been taken on our behalf without us giving our own consent.
So David, which is a very concerning matter, and it calls into question the role that government is playing in trying to resolve this land dispute.
Well, yes, indeed it does. I think that in terms of the Ruggie principles for good governance, United Nations principles for good governance, government is supposed to govern and to regulate. And what we're finding in South Africa is, rather than governing and regulating, we often find government colluding with industry. Industry is supposed to obey the laws of a country. They are supposed to act according to the regulations that are set and so on. But what we are concerned about at the Benchmarks Foundation is that the industry is actually polluting democracy in this country, in the sense that they cherry-picked senior figures in the ruling party over the last, well, since 2004, for empowerment with regards to black economic empowerment. Now, what happens then is that you had a former Minister of the Environment, for example, becoming a chairperson of a board of a big mining company. Now, that former Minister of the Environment still has influence over the Department of the Environment. Many former ministers of mining are also on the boards of mining companies now, or they are in the management of actual mining operations. Now, this is hugely problematic. In the Northwest Province at one point, a Director General was on the board of a mining company as well. Now, when a community comes and complains about an issue, the Director General looks after their own self-interest rather than the public interest at the same time. Now, if you are a public servant, you are there to serve the public equally and fairly, not taking sides in any disputes, but making decisions that are for the benefit of the country as a whole, and particularly for the benefit of communities. Recently, a High Court judge in the Tolobeni case raised the importance of land and the land question to people in this country. It's a very emotional issue. You cannot just hand over people's land without even consulting them for a mining company to construct housing for its workers and so on, without there being any agreements with the community and how they will benefit from this particular project.
But what's even more disconcerting here is the fact that there is a land claim that is currently before the courts.
Yes.
Surely government is aware of that.
Yes, they absolutely have to be aware of that, And so we also have had a kind of breakdown of governance in the Northwest Province over the last 10 years or so, And so when the Marikana massacre happened, for example, as Benchmarks Foundation, we thought that government would send out a team before the massacre would actually happen to begin to diffuse the situation. I worked for that government for 10 years between 1994 and 2004, and I was always part of conflict management teams. We always tried to preempt conflicts and diffuse conflicts. Now that seems to have collapsed, and what we are having here is a potential conflict between the community and the government in the mine that is evolving. I referred earlier to the May 2012 situation where the community actually stopped the mine for a whole 2 weeks from operating because it did not meet its commitments of its social and labour plan. And I'm sure David Ramohanie would tell you how frustrated they are about that aspect as well.
So please, David, if you can elaborate on that, and also if you can talk to us about how much money this community has seen, if any at all, from the mining activity that's taken place on their land.
Well, I think I'm very much ashamed to mention the SLP of Lonmin, which is now Sibanye, because if I can give you an example, in their 2014 social labour plan, there was a budget that was put aside to actually do paving roads in Wonderkop. Unfortunately, when I went to Lonmin to ask to say what happened to that particular amount of money, it was around 4 million rand. That money actually was diverted from Wonderkop to a certain place, you see. So when you try to make a follow-up with DMR, they are telling you that Lonmin is bankrupt, they cannot actually oblige with their social labour plan, which actually in terms of the law, actually it means they are in transgression of the legislation because they are not complying with their social labour plan, as actually is supposed to do. So it's a problem. You go and visit that particular village, it's chaos. There is no actually development in as far as their social labour plan is concerned. You only see development in other neighboring villages. You ask yourself what is happening. Is this particular village different compared to the other neighboring villages? It is not different because it is part and parcel of your Lonmin GLC where Lonmin is actually mining. But we are deprived actually of development, and deliberately so because of the land claim.
Gentlemen, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I tell you what, I think this is a very important conversation, and it would perhaps be worthwhile to bring both of you back, perhaps try and get the mine as well as government in on the conversation to understand exactly what is going on here and how we've gotten to the point where the mine has given land to the government that they actually do not have the right to do, and government accepting that, knowing very well that there is actually a claim before the courts. So a lot going on. Hopefully we'll be able to get all the parties around a table and clarify what is going on. And thanks so much to our guest this morning, David Ramohanie, Chairperson of the Wonderkop Land Claim Committee, alongside David van Wyk, the lead researcher at Benchmarks Foundation, and shedding some light for us on who actually owns the land in Marikana. Let's take a break.